Holy Temple in Jerusalem, which is described as one of the most beautiful buildings in the world. Thousands of people came on a daily basis. At the holidays, hundreds of thousands, even millions of people came. And the memory of the temple is so firmly embedded in our consciousness. We asked, what moved us so much in the temple that it became such a part of the collective Jewish consciousness? So especially in the first temple, we can answer simply that God's presence was there in a tangible way. But even more than that, in the first and second temple, one of the experiences that people left with and were moved by was the music in the temple. The Levites played music and sang in the temple, and the music was ongoing. So when people would come to this beautiful building with the presence of God there, it was the music that entered into the soul. So music and what we call divine service of God has been an integral part of Judaism from its very inception. We see in Jewish tradition that there are what are called 10 archetypal songs. When we look in the Torah, the Chumash, the 5 books of Moses, we see song coming up again and again, and through the prophets as well. And we see that, in fact, prophecy, in many cases, was inspired by music. King David's Psalms, which are 3,000 years old and still the most long-lasting and popular songs and poems in all of history, came from King David, who was called the sweet singer of Israel. There's a beautiful story in the Talmud that King David never slept a whole night. He would sleep an hour here, a quarter hour there, and he would sleep in the early part of the evening, and he would hang his harp over his bed. And it says that at midnight, a north wind would blow and play upon the strings of David's harp, and he would wake up. And the rest of the night, he would be composing music, the Psalms, praying, meditating, crying, and coming close to God. So what is this north wind? In the Jewish tradition, the Kabbalistic tradition, the north, the word for north is the same as hidden. A hidden wind would blow through his harp. And this hints to where music is coming from. Music is coming from the most hidden place of the soul. And we are inspired by music. So when people would hear music in the temple and the incredible ambience of the temple, it left a lasting mark on our consciousness. We see that there's a beautiful connection between the numerical value of song. The word for song in Hebrew is shirah, and it equals 515. And the word for prayer equals 515. We see from this an amazing connection, that the essence of prayer is song. And the essence of song is actually prayer. So prayer, we don't mean just in a synagogue with a book open, and that's what prayer is. Prayer is a consciousness of always communicating with God. So therefore, obviously, there should be song as part of the synagogue service. And unfortunately, it's not always like that. Somewhere along the line, this incredible connection between song and divine service was a little bit severed. The Baal Shem Tov, 250 years ago, the founder of the Hasidic movement, put tremendous emphasis on reuniting song and prayer. But even since his time, it seems to have vanished in certain sense. And then, in our generation, Rabbi Shlomo Carlebach, so he once again tried to unify the idea of prayer being a joyous experience. And that experience is best related through music. So therefore, we should definitely seek out ways to add music to formal prayer, but even deeper in what we'll call informal prayer. Those times when a person is by themselves on a mountaintop or standing by the waves of the ocean or sitting by a flowing stream. We should let song well up in our souls, in our hearts, and connect it to whatever emotion we're feeling. And that's why if we're feeling sad or depressed or joyous and want to thank God. So there's a song for every mood, for every emotion. And we're told that, as I mentioned before, that the prophets many times entered into a prophetic state through music. There are a number of stories in the books of the prophets about this happening. So we're very encouraged to take what sometimes we might think is separate ideas, prayer, prophecy, music, and unify them together until it expresses the deepest depths of our being.